you were, I interviewed you pretty much a year to the day, almost, or a year to the month, whatever it was. We talked about other things then. And one of your videos, I think you're talking about Hulk Hogan's real height. For whatever reason, that just really clicked with people who were watching. Got over 200,000 views, did really well. And you were the number one video for that entire year until a few weeks ago when Eric Bischoff overtook you. So now in the charts, Eric is now above you. So we'll have to try and beat him. I'm sure we will. But I was thinking, it's like the first time you met Eric, I'm presuming is the AWA. And I spoke to Eric not long ago. And was he always a hustler even in those days? Was he always trying to climb up the corporate ladder kind of thing? Or did he sort of reside in his place as a commentator announcer at that time?
You know, it's funny because my first meeting with Eric Bischoff was both of us really shit-faced. I had done a diamond doll search in Wisconsin where the men are men and the women are too. I mean, it wasn't like being down in Florida where I come from that time, where it's the beaches and there's so many beautiful women. So I got drunk that night doing the contest, and I walked up to Pat Tanaka, one of my wrestlers. I said, Patty, let's get out of here, dude. I got to get something to eat. And Bischoff was like, hey, we're in the middle of a conversation, blah, 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 blah. So I said something back. He said something back. Next thing you know, we're both going for each other. I met him in a pull-apart fight. Pat and Paul took me out, like, let's go get something to eat. You don't want to stay in his office. Don't fuck with him. You know, I just let it go. And then later that night, after eating, coming back, getting off the elevator, he got off the elevator at the same time with his wife, Lori, who is an angel, and three guys from the office. And they're like, go to your room, go to your room. So I just go to my room. And he goes, yeah, go to your room. And he starts cutting a promo on me. So boom, now we go to your room, go to your room, go to my room. Next morning, I'm up. And I'm going to go see how tough he is now. Because he's on the same floor. I see where he walked in. I'm going to go down there and see him. And I hear at the door. The door's knocking. I think it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, bing, I'm up. I got to catch a flight, but I want to stop by his room first. And I open the door, and he's there. And he looks really rode hard and put away wet boys, hung over as hell. And he used to have hair down to his shoulders. And it was still silver back then. Because I was 31, so he was 32 at the time. And Eric, who is a third-degree black belt in karate, who fought in a bunch of tournaments, ain't afraid of anybody, especially back then. He will encourage it more than knock it down. So I opened the door, and as I opened it, it kind of stunned me a little bit. And he goes, hey, I heard I was a real asshole last night. I said, yeah, you were. As a matter of fact, I was just on my way to your room to talk about it. And he goes, I saved you the trip. Now, this is my memory of it, okay? He, of course, has his own memory, and then there's what really happened. But this is exactly what I remember, because it stuck with me so much. He said, there's two ways we can handle this. Yeah, remember, I'm running nightclubs. Since I was been in the nightclub business at that point for 14 years, since I was 17. I'm 32 now, you know? And I've heard every excuse to come back in the bar. And his, to me, was there's two ways we can handle this. One, accept my apology and shake my hand. He said, or two, and he pulled out his front three teeth. This is who Eric Bischoff is. And he says, punch me in the mouth. He goes, whichever one works for you, I'm good with it. Like, he knew he fucked up. He's going to be accountable for his actions. And if it takes getting punched in the mouth, so be it. I popped. I was like, oh, that's phenomenal. I go, dude, I've never heard that ever. I said, I would much rather shake your hand. Shook a hand, it's over. Now, a year and a half later, Dusty, I'm in WCW, and I'm doing color with Lance Russell. who was very
Yes.
famous from Tennessee.
Yeah.
Great announcer. But Lance was 72, but he looked like he was like 57.
Hmm?
You know, he didn't look older, but they wanted a young face. So Dusty said, there's a guy named Eric Bischoff from the AWA coming here. Do you remember him? And I said, name sounds familiar, but I don't really remember him. So he says, well, if you like him, help him out. If you don't, you know, just let him bury himself. I was like, okay. So I'm waiting and waiting and waiting because I got to be at TV in Columbus, Georgia to manage the Freebirds. So I got to do this thing, but he's been circling and circling Atlanta, the plane. So he finally gets there. And remember, last guy I saw is in a leather coat, a biker coat, gray hair down to here. I wasn't expecting the guy who walked in look like a Ken doll. You know, perfect, model, handsome son of a bitch.
Had his teeth.
You know,
had his teeth
everything.
in.
I mean, he looked like $1 million. But I saw the eyes and I knew exactly who he was. But we don't have time to talk about anything. I go, oh, bro, you got it here. Shook his hand. I go, come on, we got to get right in the studio right away because I got to get to TV in Columbus. He's like, okay. So we get it in the booth this big. It's like we're sitting on top of each other, 2 monitors there. And I said, okay, let's do this take. And he does it with me, but it was all each of us doing color, you know? And I said to him, I said, let me ask you a question. I said, how much do you want this job? And he said, I need it bad. He goes, I shit the bed in New York, meaning WWE. Mm-hmm. My wife's pregnant with my second kid. He goes, Vern hasn't paid me for a year. I've been working like a journeyman. I said, okay, here's the deal. Dusty told me, you got to do the play-by-play and I'll do the color. I said, let's start it again. Within a minute, I go, stop it. I look at him. I go, you don't know how to do play-by-play, do you? That's not really. He goes, we did color. We talked about things. I go, not here. I said, that'll happen, but you got to do the play-by-play. So since you don't know it, let's do this. Play it again. All right, collar and elbow lockup. Pulls him into a headlock. Pushes him off. Push him up. Boom, big tackle. Ooh, and he rolls out. I go, I'll do the color right there. So we do it. He does it verbatim. Then we stop it again. We do it again. Stop it again. Do it again. Finally, about maybe 15 minutes later, we got it. I go, let's take this one. I think he's got it. And Eric goes, hold on a second. He goes, can I ask you a question? I said, yeah, sure. He goes, do you remember me? I said, yeah, you're the guy I almost got in a fight with in the AWA. He goes, just checking. Like he couldn't believe, because in our business, when someone fucks you around or fucks with you, it's always been when you get on top, you fuck that person back. That's not who I am. And I don't give a fuck what the situation is. I am never going to change who I am because of the way other people act. I know who the fuck I am. And I know I try to always let shit go. People who hold on to hatred or anger is like you swallowing poison and expecting the other person to die. It doesn't work. I mean, Eric was so over with me because of that. Shake my hand, accept my apology, or punch me in the mouth. That's exactly how it happened because that was burned into my brain. I was like, wow, what a guy of character. That's what I saw, you know, and there's times we bought houses on the other side of the street, bringing like 100 yards, not 50 yards from each other. We never knew it because Dusty Rhodes' wife, Cody's mom, Michelle, sold me that house and the other one to Eric. And she wasn't really familiar with that part of Atlanta because it's so big. So when we said, I bought a house, I said, so did I. Oh, no kidding. Where? Mapleton. So did I. And where are you at? Valley Shannon. I go, fuck you. Because we fuck you. I go, I'm on Valley Shannon. Like, that's how it happened. Like, God put us together. That's how I prefer to believe what happened, because when I was not, they weren't going to let me manage anymore because I looked like Diamond Dallas Page. The hair and the clothes and the bling, the Diamond Dolls and the rap. I was overshadowing the wrestlers. Scott Hall warned me all the time about it, but I thought I knew everything back then.
And you were too tall as well for a manager. I mean, you were taller than the people, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like there was you and Slick. It's like Slick, if you remember from the WWE. He was the only other tall manager, but he was also dead skinny. You were just huge.
Yeah. Yeah. It was all happened the way it was supposed to. I remember Magnum telling me Dusty doesn't have the heart to do this. So he asked me, we're still going to let you be a color commentator with Eric, but we want you in production now. We want you in the office side. We want you to help with interviews and all that stuff. We can't let you manage anymore. And I was like, what? Well, I just got Scott Hall. I just created that whole gimmick for him. Like, I'm thinking this is going to be a great year, and I'm only like probably 5 months into my contract, because it took 4 months just to get a contract. So I got this contract, and now they're telling me not going to let me manage anymore. Oh man, oh my God. I go, but why? What did I do? I'll fix it. He goes, you can't. I go, what do you mean I can't? He goes, because it's you. It's not your fault. I go, what do you mean it's me? He goes, it's the hair, it's the bling. Here's one of my favorite pictures. This is Diamond Dallas Page in my 62 big Cadillac with rhinestone diamond tie, sequin jacket. If you'll see the jeans with holes in the knees in 1989.
Where did the Cadillac go? Did you sell it? Who did you sell it to? When did you sell it?
I don't know. At some point, it was always having to be, I had it for like 8 years. And it was the place that really Razor Ramon was born, because that's where Scott was getting high. He didn't drink or anything back then. And he'd be doing Scarface with a buzz. And that's where that whole thing was born. But Magnum tells me, hey, D, it's not your fault. It's you. It's the clothes. It's the bling. It's the rap. It's the dolls. He's going, you're taking too much attention away from the boys. And I swear to God, James, I look at him and I go, Magnum, are you telling me I'm too over the top for professional fucking wrestling? And he laughed just like that. And he goes, hey, what we should have done is put you in a pair of tights and boots and see if you can do this. And he walked away. And that was a defining moment for me.